even the perpetrators will go someday.
We have details as it emerges that over 20 shots were fired into the private vehicle the 3 officers were traveling in. Also, the Electricity Company of Ghana vows to show no mercy as it disconnects private homes, including that of District Chief Executive of Amasia South, engaged in power theft.
Friendship grows when the right things are done. We are terminating the service, the illegality. Every energy he has used over the period that he has used it will recover.
Meanwhile, the Ghana Water Company serves notice to factories and households to pay at least 70% of their debt or be disconnected.
Whoever and wherever we have managed to go there to keep, we are your premises and you can settle the amount in total. We wouldn't take less than 70%.
In business,
PricewaterhouseCoopers highlights difficulty in reviewing 3 key taxes passed by Parliament as some businesses push for presidential intervention. Details on the Joy Business Report.
And in our Holy Land series, we take you to some prayer sites in Israel, including Garden of Gethsemane, where Jesus spent the night praying with his disciples prior to his arrest and crucifixion.
Maybe this is the most antique synagogue all over the world. Why? Because it was built in the time of Jesus.
I am Maame Esi Thompson. Thanks for choosing us. In our first story, the Comptroller General of the Ghana Immigration Service, Kwame Techi, has served notice that those behind the shooting of 3 of his officers in Boko will be found and made to face the law. Gunmen fired over 20 bullets into the private vehicle. Assistant Inspectors Afari, Eric A. Dia and Philip Moti were traveling in on their way to get food in Boko. They were rushed to the Boko Presbyterian Hospital, but Philip Moti, 42, did not survive. The Comptroller General of the Ghana Immigration Service, Kwame Techi, during a visit to the slain officer's family, expressed his disgust at the act.
I couldn't sleep, I couldn't just imagine this callous, barbaric act of just spraying into a private vehicle on armed officers who are in mufti. I want to assure you that the government will do its best through the minister, my council and management to give our colleague a befitting burial. It was just needless for those who had perpetrated this callous act. But I always say that in life, there's always the law of karma. You can just decide that it's not true. Definitely they will pay for it. To take a soul that God has brought onto this earth, when it's the duty of God to do that at the appropriate time for them, then a human being without any act of provocation to just take their lives. The day of reckoning is coming.
Brother of the deceased, Cephas Motive, spoke on behalf of the family.
What is even more disturbing is the fact that our father, who happens to be an educationist, taught between January 1959 and August 1961 in this northern region. This same place, he educated people, he raised people in that same vicinity, in the LA Middle School, Ketejeli. And now, if you are grooming people, all right, you sacrifice your life, you dedicate to service, you want to see that other people's children do well, do better, and then your own son. Philip was a very calm person, calmer than my good self.
Meanwhile, the regional minister, Stephen Yakubu, says government has already deployed about 1,000 special forces to help with investigations and boost security.
It's very unfortunate. As respect, we are intensifying. Government is helping us. Government is bringing in special forces to Boko, about 1,000 of them, both police and soldiers. Some are already in there. Camps are being built in Bazua, which is our military camp to house these soldiers. And a lot of security things that we are doing that I don't want to mention it on this radio. Military to also intensify their patrols also. And also civil society and also individuals particularly to also, if they have any information at all, to let us know. But so far, we have not arrested anyone yet, and we are working seriously on that.
You heard Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Eyakubu. Now, police in the Upper West region are investigating the death of 2 people in a communal clash over land in the town of Kujeyiri. 3 others are missing. The clash between some members of the Samoni clan and over 300 armed men from Gudayiri. The bodies of the deceased with deep machete wounds were found in shallow graves. Joy News' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The incident, according to spokesperson of the Samune clan, Alhaji Abubakar Sufyan, occurred last Sunday when they sent 27 young men to their kraal at the Bise enclave in the Wais district to inspect their cattle and also cede portions of their lands to persons who wish to go into farming this season. They were allegedly attacked by over 300 men, resulting in 2 deaths and 3 persons missing.
Little did we know there were a group of people armed, ready to attack, and they actually attacked us. In the process, the 27 people who went, only 23 returned. So we have been trying to locate the others. Only yesterday we managed to locate 2 dead bodies, semi-decomposed. But we are still going today to launch another search, whether we will get the other 2. I don't know the circumstances under who somebody will send 27 people to go and face a whole army of 350 well-armed people.
So you are seeking for justice?
Sure. And we will push for justice until justice is done.
Away from the Upper West region, the Electricity Company of Ghana has vowed to show no mercy to defaulters as it disconnects private homes, including that of District Chief Executive of Amansie South, Clement Opoku, who was engaged in power theft. According to the tax force, the DC, even without documentation, had mounted poles and drawn cables to his home on the blind side of the company. Led by the Ashanti Regional Director of ECG, David Boydi Asamoah, the task force took away electrical cables used for the legal service connection. Here's Regional Revenue Director Engineer Boydi Asamoah.
This service serves the DCE for Amansie South. The service connection to the house is unauthorized. It doesn't go through any ECG document. So we term it as illegal extension. We are terminating the service, the illegality. Every energy he has used over the period that he has used it, will recover. We have already picked the load, so we know the current that is flowing through the wire. We'll use that one to do the calculation and the estimated energy he has used over the period.
In a related development, the Ghana Water Company is serving notice to factories and households whom it says must pay at least 70% of their debt or be disconnected. Here's Communications Officer of the company, Stanley Marty.
Whoever and wherever we have managed to go there to keep, we are your premises and we can settle the amount in total. We wouldn't take less than 70%. If you do not pay and we disconnect you and we leave the premises, then you may have to pay your arrest in full in addition to a reconnection fee before you will be reconnected.
Well, prayer is the key to communion with the Supreme God, and depending on the pressing nature of need, the place to pray is critical. This was demonstrated by Jesus Christ when he spent the eve of his crucifixion with his disciples at Gethsemane to engage God on the task in wait for him. Well, as Christians mark the death of Christ, my colleague MFR Tiamo Eli walks us through some of these critical praying sites, including the Western Wall and the Pool of Bethesda, where the blind man received his healing after sitting by it for 38 years. Details of this series from the Holy Land.
Capernaum, like a number of the biblical towns Jesus once visited, is located along the Sea of Galilee. Jesus is believed to have spent most of his time preaching and teaching about himself and the kingdom of God in this town. It is also called the town of Jesus because it is home to the nearest synagogue within which Jesus sat to teach his disciples, as well as the multitude who constantly followed him at the time.
Maybe this is the most antique synagogue all over the world. Why? Because it was built in the time of Jesus.
There is also a myriad of remnants of ancient sorts of kitchenware, largely earthen, which are somehow still intact in the open.
And that was a report by my colleague Emefa Atiamwa Eli. That's how we end the bulletin. You heard the controller of the Ghana Immigration Service describing the shooting and killing of one of his men as barbaric and a callous act. Business is up next.